Hey, what's up, gang? It is Adam, and it is spotlight time. Searching for the spotlight. Who's ready for this nightmare? Nice one, Dempsey. So here's the funny thing is, I made this thumbnail a month ago. Actually, I'm probably 4 days off of when I made this thumbnail. So I was supposed to do this one like a month ago, and then life hits the fan. So I haven't been able to make a deck since then. So this is going to be, I might have a little rust to knock off here on this one because it was fresh in my head, but it's been a month and I honestly haven't touched it besides, I think, sorting everything. I did get everything in kind of the groupings that we have here. And as you can see on the left-hand side here, I got to pull mine up for myself. We do have the updated blueprint. I am still working on the one for the lands, and I did actually in this one I didn't just do generic with the lands. I got what I would use for this deck, so I had some time to work on this. I think I even maybe tweaked it when I was heading out of town for Florida and all that stuff. If you don't know, it was the hurricane stuff. Hopefully the last time I have to mention that. So this is all tweaked for how I would build this deck, I think, and there might be some things to mess with. We're not going to touch on these today. I don't like. Hey, I missed you too, Dempsey. Thanks. Oh. But we're not going to touch on these because I don't want to kind of muddle things up with that. I'm hoping to get a big chunk cut, but the initial spotlight is going through all the cards, the possibility of cards, and not a lot of cuts. I do, as you can see, I have 89 cards here. Do I block it over there? Oh, I do block it. Okay, hang on a second. If I move this around, would you guys lose a little bit? Yeah, you do. Okay, well, I can just move it when I need to, but you can see I have 189 cards there that need to be cut. You know what I'll do? I'll just put her right there, and then you guys can see it, and you can see how much I need to cut still. So, wait, well, the next Smith Con, Dempsey, or when you're in town, bud, then we can hold each other all we want. Okay, so what I'm going to start off with, I'm going to try to follow that list a little bit, kind of, there isn't going to be a lot, like I said, a lot of cuts right away, so I don't really need to reference it, but you can see it there on the side, chilling out right there. Oh, if I put it there, then I'm blocking my picture, aren't I? Okay, no, it only blocks it when it's scrolled all the way up. Okay, so we're good. Okay, so as you guys know, Braids, Arisen Nightmare. This one seems like it's going to be fun. It's different than one I've played before. It's giving the players an option, kind of almost a little stacks thing. But so we have 2 black and 1 colorless for a Nightmare 3/3. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, land, or planeswalker. So basically any permanent that you have, you can sacrifice. If you do, each opponent may sacrifice a permanent that shares a card type with it. For each opponent who doesn't, that player loses 2 life and you draw a card. So in this, cut swamps, easy peasy. No, we're not cutting lands yet, but I do, as you can see at the bottom here, it does say I have 40 lands. Now, this is because I do have some of those flip lands in there, I believe. I'm not 100% positive. I got to figure out where I have those in there. So right off the bat, just thinking about this one, there's a couple angles. You could do the whole, like my Tesa deck where you're sacrificing stuff and, you have things out like Grave Pact where you're making everybody else sacrifice. That is an angle you could do, and I do have that in this 189 cards here, just so you can kind of see it. It might be something I kill because I already have a deck that's like that. Or you could do, this one is heavier on the planeswalkers because you sacrifice a planeswalker, maybe you get use out of it, you're not gonna need the ultimate or whatever, and you can sacrifice it. You need the draw. Most likely people aren't going to have planeswalkers, and you can sacrifice, or they won't sacrifice. They're going to draw a card, and they're losing 2 life. I'm not sure if that's the angle I want to go. You could do unique things to sacrifice, like I thought about enchantments and artifacts and all that. So I got the whole shebang here. So let's just start kind of going through everything, and then we can kind of figure out the angle. My initial thought is to kind of go a little of everything and not just focus on the Grave Pact angle and have a little bit of that also having a little bit of the other stuff. So as you can see, I don't want Day of Dragons. I got to figure out a way to, I'm sure if I spend a little time, I can move my tags down. This is normally the last thing I want to look at. So let's get away from, well, let's just go over it really quick. So Exsanguinate, this is just, you're going to have a lot of land. It gives you life, and then each opponent loses life. This is just a good card. Rise of the Dark Realms. You're killing everybody's creatures, hopefully, if you're going that route. And Torment of Hailfire. So it isn't, the thing that I'm disappointed with is that these don't necessarily, fit with the theme kill. You know, not necessarily theme, but it isn't like this style of deck is how my game winners are. It's just these are 3 cards that could potentially win the game. There's more in here that you can win the game with that as well. I think I do have the when you sacrifice creatures, they lose a life, gain a life. So you have that angle. But let's just start kind of going through the whole thing here. So draw stuff. What do we normally want for draw? And I like to go way overboard on draw. So 12 to 18. So we're sitting at 24. So we have everything here. So we have black market connections. This is fantastic, I think, in this. It's a fantastic card. But I think it's even more fantastic with this because you can not only get a treasure, you can draw, lose life. You can get a creature that you can sacrifice to potentially use this. So you have things that you can get. You get 2 things off of this that you can use for Braids and benefit you as well. So this is an awesome card. It's not only giving you draw advantage, giving you creatures and all that stuff. So I think this is going to be fantastic. Blood Gift Demon, it's the losing a life, draw a card. But I could sacrifice it. If I do the creature angle of sacrificing creatures, this could be something that I sacrifice. Bolas' Citadel, we're playing, triple black. That's fine for this. And you're sacrificing things. Kind of fits in the theme pretty well. And if you hit the lands on top, you may play lands and cast spells from the top of your library. You just have to pay life. So there is, I think, if I remember right, I do have quite a bit of life gain. We have the Exsanguinate there. I think there's some other life gain. I'm not positive on that, but there's a little bit in here. So this might work out. Each opponent loses 10 life. So that's in here. We'll see. I actually do not have a Bolas' Citadel in any of my decks yet. So this will be the first one if it makes it. Dark Confidant. This one, you're losing a lot more life if I have the higher... Where is my total curve on this? So we're looking at 2.8. So it's what do we have for some of the high stuff? We do have some 12s and 10s, a 10, a 12, a 8, a 7, 13 6s. That could hurt a little bit more, but it's in there for right now. I'm not cutting yet. Unless it's obvious cuts, I will make the cuts. Okay, so Demonic Lore. This one's going to be fantastic because you're tapping 3, you're drawing 3 cards, and then at your end step, you sacrifice this. It's an enchantment. Not a lot of people are going to have those necessarily. And so you don't have to worry about the beginning of your end step. You can do this before. You stack it correctly so you don't lose the 2 life. Sacrifice this. You just drew 3 cards off of it and potentially more because they're not going to sacrifice their enchantments. And you're going to draw more, and they're going to lose life. So this is a win-win with that one. Win-win-win. And a similar thing here, Demonic Pact. I don't like playing this card because it'll lose the game factor. But you can sacrifice it. Use the first one. So you play it at the beginning of your upkeep. Choose one that hasn't been chosen. So the first turn, I'm going to go draw 2 cards. Second turn, I'm going to go target opponent discards 2 cards. And then well, the thing is, it's kind of safe about this one is I will probably do those first 2 and just to be safe because I know how our play group is and how douchey they are and how sneaky they can be, that I will probably destroy it then with the enchantment part because I don't want to risk them killing Braids and then hitting my upkeep and this kills me, losing the game. So I'd probably do it after I do the second mode, which 4 for drawing 2 cards, making somebody discard 2 cards, and then you're probably drawing an additional 2 to 3 cards. That's a pretty good card in my book. Citadel, Aether Flux Reservoir for the win. I don't even know if I did Aether Flux. I don't think I added that because I know there is some cheaty MacGyver stuff with that. I don't think I kept Aether Flux in here because also I wasn't casting a lot of spells unless I had that out. So the Ichor series stuff, so the Wellspring, I think that's how you say it, Ichor. So it's an artifact, comes in, you draw a card, and then when it's put in your graveyard, draw a card. So 2 for a 2, you're drawing 2 cards off of it and potentially a lot more with Braids effect. So this is just like a duh add in there. I gotta get my buttons ready because it's reading. Where's my kid can't even read? I got to say what? There's kid can't even read. Okay, so I got all good for you and kid can't even read. So Soul Hoarder, that's what we'll call them. So there's a 6 to come in whenever a permanent owned by another player is put in the graveyard from the battlefield, you draw a card and you lose a life. So if they're sacrificing things, then I'm drawing a card. If they're not, I'm drawing a card. So these two out can be kind of brutal together because you're going to be drawing no matter what. They choose one or the other. Do they want me to lose a life and sacrifice something, or do they want to lose 2 life and I draw a card and they keep everything? So there's some decisions to be made there. Kozilek. Okay, so hear me out with this. I think, I'm trying to remember a month ago, the idea with this was not only for drawing the 4 cards, but I was thinking of it going into my graveyard from discard or whatever and shuffling. I don't know if I want to keep this in here because that's what I used to do with stuff. I don't think I necessarily need to have him in here. We're going to just right away going to put sideboard on him because I don't think that necessarily fits in this. I was thinking it as my draw and then a shuffle effect because I was thinking I'm going to be drawing so much. I want something to automatically shuffle stuff in, but it might not be as much as you think. You know, you don't normally go 10 turns deep before the game is over. So, all right. Liliana's contract enters. I draw 4 cards and lose 4 life. That's a good price to pay. At the beginning of my upkeep, if you control 4 or more demons with different names, you win the game. I do have one. How many demons, actually? 5 demons. So potentially, I could win the game. But no, most likely it's 5 for a draw 4, lose 4, and then sacrifice it as an enchantment and draw more because most likely people aren't going to have enchantments to sacrifice. So these are always good to have here. All right, so now we get into some of these Planeswalkers. We got Liliana. Whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card. So if I'm sacrificing mine, I'm drawing even more. You can do the creating bodies or everybody sacrificing. So Liliana is just like a perfect add in this. Lolith, Spider Queen. Whenever a creature you control dies, put a loyalty counter on her. I can do 0, draw a card, and lose a life. So this is a lot of draw stuff. But again, this is what I was saying with the Planeswalker things. And it's creating, I can create a spider token. Don't really care about the ultimates are fun, but that you don't normally hit those. So these are fun there. Do you have some life gain stuff in there? That's what I'm trying to get to there, Dempsey. I'm not positive. I think I did put stuff in here. I can already see one. Vampiric Rites will give me some life gain there. So I need a little bit more with some of this because otherwise this is going to be hurting me a lot on my draw stuff. So we'll see when we're all through this to see how many life gain we actually have. Mari, the Killing Quill. Why was this one good? Whenever an opponent controls dies, exile it with a hit counter. So you're getting rid of creatures that die. But then assassins, mercenaries, rogues you control have death touch. And whenever this creature deals damage to a player, you may remove a hit counter from a card that player owns and exile. If you do, draw a card and create 2 treasure tokens. So that's pretty sweet in itself. You're giving her death touch. Is it going to be able to get through to do that? I mean, if you have somebody open and you get through and you're able to draw a card and get 2 treasures, I think that's pretty cool. At the very least, when their creatures are dying, you're exiling them. So that's kind of what I was thinking with this guy or gal. So it's a good getting rid of their recursion. Midnight Reaper, we all know what that does. When a non-token creature dies, deals 1 damage to me and I draw a card. See, again, we have a lot of this damage. I'm going to need some more. Aether Flux might have to make it in. Morbid Opportunist. Whenever one or more other creatures die, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. So that's not one of your creatures necessarily. It's just saying one or more any other creatures. So if somebody else's turn and a creature dies just from battle, I get to draw off of that as well. So this is actually this is gonna for sure be in here. Phyrexian Arena, same thing as our Blood Gift Demon. So, but it's an enchantment. So again, I could use this to sacrifice later, and in a pinch and draw more cards. Priest, I can. No, it's more losing life. I thought this was my gain life. Sacrifice 2 other creatures, any number of target players each. Oh no, they lose 2 life and sacrifice a creature. You draw 2 card or draw a card and gain 2 mana for that. I mean, it's sacrifice on a stick, I guess. I'll keep her for right now. Professor Onyx. So I don't think I'm going to be casting the Magecraft part very often. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Instants and sorceries, 7 and 5, and this is before cut. So that part might not take effect, but the +1, you gain or you lose 1 life. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand, and the rest into your graveyard. You have a lot of draw and lose life effects. Yes. So I think at this point, I have 1 gain life thing. Where was that? Where did my gain life? Is there any gain in life? I thought I remember 1 gain life. Maybe there isn't a gain life yet. We'll see though, because this is the draw part. Drawing for black is just you losing life. That's what black does. So we'll see. If I don't have any, I'm gonna have to add some. Okay, so let's see. The second part is each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures that the player controls. So this is also if I am going the Braids route of sacrificing creatures, this will be very nice to have in there. And then the ultimate is, that. Protection Racket. So this is going to add in some more. Okay, so now I have multiple things that are having stuff potentially go to the graveyard, because that would be Professor Onyx, Protection Racket. I'm revealing for each opponent, reveal a card from the top of my library at the beginning of my upkeep. That player may pay a life equal to that mana cost. If they do, exile that card. Otherwise, I put it in my hand. So it's kind of a draw in there. Sensei's Divining Top. Yes. Tavesh. So I get to create 0/1 Thralls, which is nice, because then I can sack them for Braids. But then you can +1. You may sacrifice another creature or planeswalker. If you do, draw 2 cards. Then draw another card if the sacrifice permanent was a commander. So most likely you're just drawing 2 cards. Just off of sacrificing one of your creatures. So you're already doing that. So this is probably an auto add into this one. And I think I do want to stay with the Planeswalker heavy in this, because in that pinch or when it's down, the Planeswalker's dead enough, or I know it's not going to make a turn around. Let's cast this, use its plus or minus ability, and let's Braids it and get everybody to lose 2 life, and I draw 3 more cards. Like, it's money right there. Like, it's easy right there. So I went heavier on the Planeswalkers. 8? Yes. 6 Lilianas, 2 Lolith, and Zizat,
One,
Can't even read.
2.
All right, next is Treacherous Blessing. Enters the battlefield, draw 3 cards. Whenever you cast a spell, lose a life. Becomes the target of a spell or ability, sacrifice it. So now my thought is, let me just check this out. For each, it might not work out as the way I'm thinking. If you do each one, step, you may sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, land, or okay. It does work. Okay. Because this does not become a target. Braids, if it were worded weird, worded at the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice target, artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker, I believe is how that would work. because it doesn't say target. This isn't necessarily targeting. This is just saying it's kind of like that clone thing where it comes into play and you're not targeting a copy. You can copy something that has protection and all that stuff. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice an artifact. So you're not you're not targeting it. Because what I was worried about is that when it becomes a target of the spell of sacrifice. So if I went to target this, it would sacrifice and I wouldn't get this ability. But I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you guys know the answer to this, put that in the chat. But I believe once this isn't actually targeting this, so I'm able to sacrifice this. So I play this, draw 3 cards, and then end step, sacrifice, draw more cards, or do damage. All right, Vampiric Rites. Here's our life gain. Sacrifice a creature, gain a life, draw a card. You tap 2. Yeah, that does. That's pretty good. But it's only my first life gain thing, so we'll see. We might have to add more in here. Here's more. Pay a life. Sacrifice another creature. -1/-1 counters. Proliferating. And drawing cards there. So this is the draw package. What did I say? Draw needed to be at 12 to 18. So we have some cuts to do in here. I'm thinking Dark Confidant needs to go because this could really hurt me, especially the 1 life stuff isn't as bad, but the big chunks off of that, like imagine Liliana losing 6 life off of that. So that might be one that goes. It's not for sure cut yet, but it probably will. All right. Why do I go to side theme? We need to get to main thing. We're going to jump around a little bit. Let's see. Sack benefit main theme. All right. So main idea, typically 15 to 25. In this, I have 40. So let's just start running through all this stuff and see. Okay. I do want to keep a tally of how many life gain things I already have. I can get my pen here and a piece of paper. Scrap paper. All right, so life gain 1 so far, and we will get more here in a little bit, I think. All right, so sack benefits. So this is basically, this section is going to be when my stuff gets sacrificed, that there's a benefit to everything being sacrificed. The main idea of this thing, because I am going to be sacrificing things with Braids, and I would like to not only get the benefit of other people losing stuff or me drawing cards or them losing life, but also control what I can control and get more benefit off of sacking stuff. So, okay. So Agent of the Iron Throne, commander creatures you have have whenever an artifact or a creature you control is put in the graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. So artifact creature you control. So I'm sacrificing no matter what, everybody's going to lose a life off of that. So we're doing the whole Blood Artist effect in a way, but this is target player. So this is just doing some of the direct damage. This is just things that are whittling away at players as I'm sacrificing things. Iara, there we go. First of Lochthwain, 3 black. Whenever this or another black creature enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life. You gain a life. Hey, there's another gain life. And then you can sacrifice another black creature and draw a card. So it's a sack engine. I'm casting creatures. So if I'm going the heavy creature route, which at this point I have 74 creatures, it's not staying that way. But I have 74 creatures in this deck. If I stay the creature heavy, this is definitely an auto include in this. Bastion of Remembrance. So we got an enchantment. I'm liking that. What do I have for enchantments? 33. Heavier on the enchantments, artifacts. Well, I'm heavy on everything right now because I have 188. Okay, so when it enters, you get to create a 1/1 human soldier token. So now I have 2 things that I can sacrifice. I have the enchantment or the creature if I wanted to. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain a life. Hey, there's 3 life, 3 gains. All right, so that one's pretty good in here. For sure keeping that in there. Black Market. This is going to help quite a bit. You see the workhorse of this deck down at the bottom? Oh, you're talking about this little girl right here? I don't know. Or are you talking about this little girl right here? Or which ones are you? There's some pretty good cards in here. The workhorse, T-Grid is going to do some. Yeah, I think that's what you're probably done. This could probably get in the Day of Dragons part of this too. Okay, so Black Market, whenever a creature dies, put a charge counter on this. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, this is just going to add more mana. It's just good. That should almost... It probably is in ramp. Why don't I have it in there? It probably should be in there. We're going to add a little tag onto that guy. Change tags. Let's add in ramp. All right, Blood Artist. We all know what Blood Artist does. This is going to deal damage. We're going to gain life. So now we have 4 gain lifers. Blood Chief Ascension. This is just silly, but this is also 5 gain lifers. Beginning of your end step, if an opponent lost 2 or more life this turn, you get to put a quest counter. If it has 3 on it or more, anytime anything goes to any player's graveyard, that player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. That's just crazy. It's a good card. Oh, you were talking about Sir Conrad. Yeah, there's a couple good ones in here. There's some pretty beastie guys in here. So I'm excited to play this deck. Bantu. So black spell creature spells that cost 1 less. Whenever you cast a creature spell, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. There's some more life gain. Cauldron of Souls. This is perfect because I can tap, choose any number of creatures I want, and they can gain persist. So I can sacrifice something. It comes back with the -1/-1 counter. Everybody still has to do their thing of sacrificing, and so I get to reuse it at least one more time. Dark Prophecy. Whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card and lose a life. Earbos. I hit it.
One, can't even read.
Black-Hearted. So this is whenever another creature you control dies, you may pay 2 life, draw a card. You don't have to, which is nice. Man, I do have a lot of taking damage. Sacrifice another creature, target creature with minus. It's mainly the dying and drawing life, or drawing cards. Exquisite Blood. Here's a life gain. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. So even if they decide not to sacrifice anything and they lose 2 life, I will gain 2 life. So that's kind of nice there. This is like a better Blood Artist, as we know. It's whenever another creature dies. Oh, no, it's the same as Blood Artist. I was thinking it was the surround damage and everything. I don't think you need a ton of life gain, just enough to keep you ahead and lose. Yeah, I agree. I don't need... at this point, at 7, if I keep those in, and that's not even the end of this, I'm probably good with the life stuff. Because right here... Oh, well... He's going to gain me life. So now we're at 8. Grim Haruspex. So whenever another non-token creature you control dies, draw a card. Helm of the Host. Why not have 2 copies of Braids and start doing more and more and more damage? Any of these to have more copies of, Helm will work with, which that's when I really like using Helm of the Host. I like using it when it's my commander, but I especially like it when I have creatures that are in play, that if there are multiples of those as well, that I don't just have to always target my commander. So having multiples of this, multiples of this, multiples of Blood Artist, like any of these, Helm of the Host can keep making stacks of that. So, and it can be a sack outlet. It's an artifact. So It That Betrays. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent, that card is put on the battlefield under your control. So that's why she made it in there, or he or it or whatever it is, because I'm making them sacrifice, and if they sacrifice it, I get it. Or they don't sacrifice, they lose 2 life, and I draw. So this is like a win-win-win. And T-Grid's going to do a similar thing. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent or discards a permanent card, you may put that from the graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. I don't think you use the backside very much. I gotta remember what that does. I haven't used T-Grid before. Target player loses 3 life unless they sacrifice a non-land permanent or discard. I guess you could use this other side, but you're probably not. You're going to use the first, the god side of T-Grid. Turgrid. Sorry, I said T-Grid. As you can see, I don't use this card very often. Where were we? We were at It That Betrays. All right, so we're at Camber, the Plunderer. Partner, don't worry about that. It has lifelink, so I guess kind of pseudo gaining life. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you gain a life and create a blood token. Okay, we'll count that one. So this one's really beneficial. Like, look at that. Whenever a creature an opponent control dies, you gain a life and get a blood token. So you're gaining a life and you're not drawing, but you're getting a token that you can sacrifice later and go, well, now I'm going to sacrifice this blood token. You know, there's different ways you can use that. Or what does the blood token do? Discard a card, sacrifice this artifact, draw a card. So in turn, it's not rummaging, because rummaging you're searching for, but it's the discarding. What am I brain farting on it? It's looting, right? Or you're discarding, faithless looting. Isn't that discard first? Whatever. So this seems like it'd be really good because it's whenever an opponent creature opponent control dies, you could be gaining a ton of life off of this, getting a bunch of blood tokens that you can use later. I think this is a fantastic add in this. We already saw this guy, so now we have a flip guy. At the end of turn, if 3 or more creatures were put into the graveyard from play this turn, flip it. The flip is at the beginning of each player's upkeep. That player sacrifices a creature. Okay. I don't know if I like that one as much. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a creature. This also affects you. We're gonna get rid of that one. Could have been fun. I mean, that won't work well with this. Massacre Worm. If we're having people sacrifice stuff, why not have them lose 2 life when they're sacrificing it? So that's, and also kind of a board wipe for the tokens. I always like Massacre Worm. Already talked about Midnight Reaper. Machias, very good. We have the Undying part of this, so it gets the 1/1. So if we have Machias and Cauldron of Souls, basically we don't lose the creature because the 1/1 and -1/-1 will cancel each other out. So the creature just stays alive. Okay, so it's whenever a human deals damage to you, destroy it. That's always kind of a little fun bonus. But Machias is really just kind of the Cauldron of Souls, similar effect here. Mimic Vat is whenever a creature dies that's not a token, you may exile it. Return any other exiled cards with Mimic Vat. Now you can create tokens that you can then sacrifice later for your Braids. And this is for everybody's. I get to choose when people's cards go to the graveyard if I want to exile them and make copies of those, make tokens. Nightmare Shepherd is one of our other demons. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, create a token copy of that creature, except it's a 1/1. So it's kind of doing the similar thing to Cauldron of Souls, Machias as well. So you're getting that same creature back, and I like that a lot because then you don't get it back. You're getting a token copy of it, so your creature still is in the graveyard, but you are getting another. It's like a 2-for-1 in a way. So I love this card in there. Pawn of Ulamog. Creature you control dies, non-token. You get an 0/1. That you can either use for mana. I always love this card. Or you can use it for sack fodder right there. Psychosis Crawler. You're drawing a lot of stuff. Let's do damage while you draw. So Psychosis Crawlers obviously got to be in here. Revel in Riches. Whenever an creature opponent control dies, get a treasure token. So now there's a lot to this because you're making people sacrifice. They don't have to, but I'm drawing cards. Or if they do sacrifice, I'm getting treasure tokens. And then if I have 10 or more treasure tokens, I win the game at the beginning of my upkeep. So this is just I want this deck to be hard for everybody to decide what they want to do. Like, do I want to sacrifice this? If I do that, then he's going to get this and this. Like, I don't want it to be an easy thought every time I hit Braids' ability. I want everybody to actually struggle to figure out which one they want to do. I don't want them to take 10 minutes to do it, but I want them to think about it. I don't want it to be easy. So adding things in here that, well, crap, now if I sacrifice this, yeah, he doesn't draw, but he gets treasure. And well, if there's a board wipe and this is out and then his turn starts and he can win the game. That is also a possibility. So this could be a Day of Dragons. I just don't think that'll be as consistent because I don't think a lot of board wipes in this. because I want creatures on the board for Braids to work. Sanguimancer. So this is a gaining life one. So we're at 10. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you gain 3 life. Whenever opponent discards, that one's not going to happen as much, but the gaining 3 life is always nice. Senger the Dark Baron. So whenever a creature dies, put 2 1/1 counters on him. Whenever another player loses the game, you gain life equal to that player's life total as the turn began. And it's not even just to the Dark Baron doing it. It's just if somebody kills somebody else and they had like 15 life or 20 life, or sometimes you see the big wins where it's like 30 life, you gain 30 life. So, let me add that. We got 11 there. So this is a big guy for that. Sheoldred. So this one's also whenever you draw a card, gain a life. And then whenever an opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life. So yeah, it is turning out. I have quite a bit of life gain stuff in here. Sifter of Skulls. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, put 1/1. So it's a similar thing as our Pawn of Ulamog. Skull Clamp, obviously, let's put it on something, then sacrifice it, draw 2 cards along with Braids' abilities. Smothering Abomination. You have to sacrifice a creature. I try to put this in so many decks, and it works, but I always thought that this card was going to do so much more. Like, even in my sack creature decks, I am getting the use out of it, but it's not abusive use, because you're still having to sacrifice a creature at the beginning of your upkeep. So you don't necessarily, you get a benefit, and it's whenever you sacrifice a creature, draw a card. It's not when they die. So that's the harder part of this one. But with this deck where I'm forcing myself to sacrifice it, I think it can stay in here. Along with, you have other effects. Sacrifice another black creature. So draw a card off of that. Draw a card there. So you got some multiple benefits from that. Solemn Simulacrum. So we're going to get this to get our land. So that's also a ramp. And then sacrifice it for Braids. Draw a card. And then Braids effect. So it's really good. Sir Conrad, like Renshai was talking about, whenever another creature dies or a creature card is put in the graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or a creature leaves your graveyard, Sir Conrad deals 1 damage to each opponent. Each player puts the top card of their library into the graveyard by tapping 2. Yeah, this is going to do some work here. It always does. This is just a really good card. Turgrid, we already talked about. If you aren't using the Haunt of Hightower, you need to be using this more. It's a really good card. So, Flying Lifelink, whenever it attacks, defending player discards a card. Whenever a card is put into opponent's graveyard from anywhere, put a 1/1 counter on it. So this is by far, like, that's probably one of my best lifelink or gaining life cards in this, because this sucker gets big so fast. Because it's a 3/3, and it's the same effect as Bloodchief Ascension, where it doesn't matter. Wherever this card is, it attacks, you're making them discard. So that right there is getting a 1/1 counter. And then if anybody's creatures die or anything, a card is put into opponent's graveyard from anywhere. It's not a creature. It's whenever a card is put in there. So this just gets brutal. It's fun in discard decks. It's fun in milling decks. It's just, there's a lot of use for this card. And I've put it in like the last 3 decks. I mean, every black deck that I've that I've oh, that was a little bit of a slip. The last 3 black decks I've made, this sucker has been in there, and when it hits the table, everybody's just like, got to get rid of it, because you just go from out of reach for a lot of players because he gets so big so quick. Meat Hook Massacre. Finally get to use this guy. Another life gain, so we're at 14. Enters battlefield, so this is a good way. This is my board wipe, I guess, in a way. I don't have to board wipe, but I can. And then whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. Whenever a creature an opponent control dies, you gain a life. So I'm excited to use this because I haven't used this card yet. Voldaren Bloodcaster. Whenever this or another non-token creature dies, create a blood token. Okay, so you have that similar effect to the one we camber right here. But it's also including you. Another non-token. It's only you. And whenever you create a blood token, if you control 5 or more blood tokens, transform. Let's see what she flips into. She flips into at the beginning of combat on your turn. Up to 1 target blood token you control becomes a 2/2 bat with flying in addition to its other types. So the flip side isn't that amazing. I'm just curious. There's a little symbol there. There. Okay. I don't have to do that. That's new. That hasn't been there before, unless I just didn't notice it. So it's whenever this or another creature dies. So again, you're sacrificing getting a blood token in which you can sacrifice the artifact later. Most likely, unless people are playing treasures, which are a thing, people aren't going to sacrifice their artifacts and you will get the draw off of that. So that was kind of where I was going with that. And it's only a 2-drop. So that's an early use. Yeah, no, thanks Black Horizon. Yeah, we purposely are doing the different ways to kind of show that everybody does things differently. And it's really cool to have Lowry do his in-person cards. He likes to actually physically have his cards in his hand and go through them and figure out how to build the deck that way. And I haven't always built this way, but I always would build on paper. And so I'd write everything down, all like basically what I did here with 187, well, it was 189 at the beginning, 189 cards. And then I kind of group them, and then I group them when I'm adding them. So I'll have the same categories, like this is the main theme or the sack benefit. Here's my ramp. Here's this, here's that. And then what I'll do is I'll go through the list and start scratching them off. The reason why I do it this way is because once we started making proxies, or, owning the copy, and then you had to own 1 copy and then you could make proxies. Once I started designing proxies, most of the cards I have are in my binders. They're not in actual decks, the ones that are $5 or more. So this was easier for me. I could never have the physical copies in my hand because I make the proxies. They're in my binder. I'm not taking them out of the binder to build the deck. I would just write them down. So this works out so much better for me because, and I will say there's sometimes cards I don't have. And so after the deck is built, then I go, okay, I have these 4 cards I don't own. Let's order this, this, and that. And then boom, the deck is done. So doing it this way has helped me so much. Like this would take me weeks normally to build it. I mean, in this case, this one's been sitting to be built for the last month. But now when I've been doing this on Tapped Out, and keeping our blueprint list. Actually, once we made that blueprint list 2 years ago, this has become a lot easier for me for building decks, just trying to stay inside that. So, and visually wise, I like how this is showing it for you guys to be able to see this. I like Lowry's way too, because you could see the pimpage of what cards he has and all that stuff. And you could physically see those cards as well. So yeah, it's cool because we didn't want to do the same thing. Like Lowry could easily go to this because he does have the 2 monitors now and start doing his deck like this. But we purposely have kept it sort of like to show the 2 different styles of building. All right. So Weatherlight completed. Now here's an example. I didn't open enough Dominaria to actually have this card. So if this stays in here at the end, I will have to go and buy this card. Thanks for the explanation. I love hearing how people brew and yeah. No, it's cool. It's cool to see. And that's the thing is we don't want people to be like, this is the only way you should do things. Everybody does things differently, like, man, it's fun to go through my notebooks. When we do our show notes and stuff like that. And when I run out of my notebook of each show, I go to find one of my other books and I'm like, holy shit, look at all the deck. Like this is Croxa right here, just written out. It's like, God damn, I had a lot of time to put out, like just writing all those down and then sorting those. And then that's part of the reason why it would take me 2 weeks to build a damn deck. All right. So we talked about this card, I think in our top 10. So it's a 2-drop artifact, which is nice. I could sacrifice this if I wanted. But I probably won't because as long as it has 4 more Phyrexes counters on it, it is a creature in addition to its other types. That's not the reason why I was reading. Okay. Whenever a creature you control dies, put a counter on Weatherlight completed. Then draw a card if it has 7 or more counters on it. Otherwise, scry. So again, the long and short of this one is you're sacrificing your stuff. At the very least, you're scrying 1. You sacrificed it, you're scrying 1 before they're even deciding whenever your control dies. Yeah. So I'm sacrificing, and then it hits the graveyard. I'm scrying. Okay, I'm going to want that card, or I don't want this one. Now you go around. Are you keeping card? Are you sacrificing? No. Okay, I'm going to draw a card. So this can help you filter the top. After you've done it 7 times, which it seems like a lot for 7 turns of Braids, but there are other things of sacrificing in this, like this guy and where are my other guys? Sacrifice. I had him above. So, and there's going to be some more coming up in a little bit because I do want some sack outlets in here. So this could get there faster than you think. And at the very least, I could sacrifice this in a pinch. Again, always in a pinch, you can do that. Zulaport, Cutthroat. We're gaining life here, so we're at 15. Zulaport is just that similar thing. If you're sacrificing creatures, everybody's losing life, and you're gaining life. So that's always a good thing. Where do I want to take you guys next? Let's do more sacks, I think. Yeah, let's get to some of the other sack stuff. Archfiend of Depravity. At the beginning of each opponent's end step, that player chooses up to 2 creatures they control, then sacrifices the rest. So this was going to help filter down to get rid of creatures so people don't... Like, if somebody has an army of a bunch of 1/1 tokens, this is a way to get it so it's just down to their 2 creatures. And then Braids is really taking effect if I'm going that creature route, which it kind of seems like I am. That might be more of my theme, and then the other stuff is my side stuff. I mean, because that Planeswalkers, there's only 8, so I can't really be the main theme of sacrificing, you know. So those are most likely going to be the side theme, like this guy, more sacks. And side themes, 0 to 10. So this is just kind of continuing what the deck is doing. Archon of Cruelty. Now, this is one I don't think I opened. Like, I think this is the only card. Oh, good for you.
Oh, good
that I didn't open
you.
In Modern Horizons 2. I'll take that back. I didn't open Solitude, and I had to end up buying that one. And this is another one that I did not open. I opened a lot of that stuff, and I did not get this guy. But when it enters the battlefield or attacks, target opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker, discards a card, loses 3 life, and you draw a card and gain 3 life. This is a lot for 8. I don't know if I want to keep this one there or not. This just seems whenever enters the... So at least you get the benefit right off the bat. So you're right away drawing a card and gaining 3 life, and somebody's losing 3 life, discarding a card and sacrificing a creature. I'll keep it there for now, but that might be one that gets cut later because that is a lot for 8. Owner becomes guaranteed 2 life drain and 3. Yeah. No, I agree. The nice thing is you get the benefit. If it was 8 and you didn't get it off of the entering the battlefield, I think that's where Wonder becomes guaranteed 2 life drain. Yeah, okay. If it didn't have that ETB effect, I think this would be easily cut. But because it has the ETB effect and on attack, I like it. I better mediocre on this. I know it's a really good card. That's why it's $19, but it's 8. And in Commander, when you're casting something for 8, that's why whenever somebody's like tapping 8, you're like, oh shit, here comes the game winner. I mean, this is going to do some damage, but is it a game winner? No. It'll become a target though. Okay, so here comes my douchey card. You ready? Contamination. During my upkeep, sacrifice a creature or sacrifice contamination. So I could use this as the thing I sacrifice, but this is the part that's douchey. Whenever a land is tapped for mana, it produces a black swamp instead of its normal type and amount. So I haven't played with this card yet, and I haven't seen anybody play with this card, but I guarantee you if this card comes out, all hell is going to break loose because it might be too douchey. Because if you have people that aren't playing black, if they don't have black in their deck this just shuts them down. Like, well, they could use artifacts. That's why you play mono rocks. But this could just kill them, you know, because they can't, unless they can get rid of this, they're pretty much done for, because they don't, every land that they have, even when they tap a land for mana. Okay, so you could use your fetches, because you're not tapping it for mana, you're sacrificing it. But when you're tapping it for mana, whatever you're fetching to go get, and you're trying to use it, it's a swamp instead of what it normally is. So this is like the black douchey blood moon effect that's almost worse, because it's all their land that is tapped for mana instead of non-basics and all that. So we'll see. I'm going to keep it in here because I'm mono black, so I want it this way. And I'm about sacrificing creatures and stuff, so this is going to be easy for me to keep this going. But if it becomes too much of a douchey thing where it really doesn't make the game fun anymore for people, then I'll get cut at some point, you know. Yeah, and lose friends. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so then we got Dictate of Erebos. So whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature. Grave Pact. So the Grave Pact Dictate of Erebos effects. I don't think I added in Butcher of Malakir, because I just had these two as the ones, because then I could sacrifice these as well, because they are enchantments. And not a lot of people have as many enchantments, or they want. Thanks, guys. Such a douche. I know. So I said it was the douchey card. It was the douchey card section. I should make that part on this on the little list here. A douche card, 0 to 5 douche cards in a deck. Actually, it should be like 0 to 2. Okay, Infernal Tribute. Sacrifice a card in play. Draw a card. Any card. Sacrifice it. It's good. Draw a card. Lithoform Engine. So we're going to copy activated triggered abilities. May choose new targets. I can copy instants. I can copy target permanent spells. So I can cast something, make a permanent, a second one of that. I can sacrifice that. Or I can double up Braids ability. So this is always fun. Douche Canoe. Yes, that is what that card is right there. Lucille, The Walking Dead, finally get to use this potentially. So it is 2-drop equipment for 2/2+0 and Menace. Whenever equipped creature attacks, defending player sacrifice a creature. If they do, create a walker token. So attack, get a token, sacrifice that token, rinse and repeat. So this is adding tokens on your attack. Menace gives them a little bit of evasiveness, so that's kind of why I did put this in. I don't think it's as strong as I would want it to be, so it's kind of borderline at this point. I mean, I have 187 cards to cut. It's probably going to end up getting cut at some point here. You play way more than 2 douche cards in most decks. I know you do. You're all about the douche. All right. Sorry, Dempsey. I'm just kidding. Let's see. Then we got the priest. We already talked about her. Saw in Half from Infinity. Destroy target creature. If that creature dies, create 2 tokens. So we're just splitting our stuff in half, or in 2. And then you can sacrifice 1 at that end of your turn, and then everybody does, and then your next turn do it. But the cool thing is, anything that has an ETB effect, you will get 2 more. So your creature hit the battlefield, did its thing. Now you're destroying it, and now it's doing its thing again. You can also use Saw in Half as, in a way, protection. Because if somebody goes to kill your creature, it is an instant, so you can kill your creature before they kill it. And now you've made 2 creatures, and their spell will fizzle. So Saw in Half is just a very fantastic card. There's many ways you can use this card. And I think this card will go up in price, especially because Infinity, that's another story, because Infinity just isn't being opened as much, and there really isn't a lot of good cards besides the lands and shocks. So I think this might end up going up in price over time, because this just isn't going to be opened as much. Like a warm summer's eve. Strionic Resonator. So we're doing the similar thing as Lithoform. We were talking about vampiric rights. Yahenni. Whenever a creature an opponent control dies, put a 1/1 counter on Yahenni. It has haste. I can sacrifice a creature at any time. So here's a sack outlet, and then it gains indestructible until end of turn. So if everybody's sacrificing their things, He's going to get bigger. And then free sack outlet. There's a lot of good things with Yeheni. I like this card a lot. Okay, so those are our main sack stuff. Let's move into the actual sacks themselves. This is probably where things might get whittled down a little bit more as we go along. But let's get through it. So Bitter Blossom, you're making tokens, you're sacrificing them. Yeah, you're losing life, but making tokens, using those to sacrifice to Braids. So this is kind of your sack spot where you're using these things to get 4 Braids. It's just feeding Braids. Blight Mound, whenever a non-token creature you control dies. Okay, so it's doing a similar thing to what we had earlier. You're making a token, but when that creature dies, you gain a life. So kind of a little pseudo gain life. I'll get a little check mark down there. Blood Gas. So this is just your free sack outlet in a way. Because whenever a land enters the battlefield, you can return it from your graveyard to the battlefield. So you sacrifice it, play a land, it comes back. You're getting to draw or do damage or get rid of creatures. So this is just good. Burglar Rats, you're having each opponent discard cards, then you sacrifice it. Good stuff. The Menderer, when it enters the battlefield, gain 2 life. I'm not putting this down as a gain life because you're only going to gain really 2 life off of this. But when it leaves the battlefield, so you're doing a Solemn Simulacrum thing. So a similar thing, but it's an artifact. So those I feel are harder for people to deal with when you sacrifice them. Though enchantments and artifacts and obviously planeswalkers. So you're more than likely going to be drawing off of those because people aren't going to have them or don't want to sacrifice them. Demon's Disciple. Each player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. So this includes yourself. Yeah, I guess that's okay. I mean, we got a few of those in here. We already talked about that. Dreadhorde Invasion, beginning your upkeep, you lose a life and amass 1, so you can create that token. You can sacrifice it, or you can keep adding counters to that token. If it zombie, you control a 6 or power greater, attacks, gains lifelink until end of turn. So there's a little bit of lifelink there as well. Let's see here. Enters the battlefield tapped. Whenever you may cast it from your graveyard if a creature not named died this turn. Okay, so it's a recursion built in on sacrifice. You may cast from your graveyard if a creature. Problem here though is you couldn't do it at the end of your turn because it's good. You can't cast it at. Oh, it does have flash. Never mind. You can. So I'll stay there. That'll stay there. And it's a 5/2. Okay, so it enters the battlefield. You may search your library for a basic land, reveal, put it in your hand. Then you're just going to sacrifice this for the draw part. So that's an artifact. When it dies, each opponent discards a card. Grave Titan, you're making tokens. Sacrifice those. Gray Merchant in an all-black deck. Yes, doing damage when it comes to the battlefield. Hey, imagine if you split that and saw in half and have 2 of these. Gutter Bones. Tap 2, you can return it from your graveyard to your hand. Ooh, I might not want that. It seems like too many steps. Return graveyard to your hand. Activates the ability only during your turn and only if an opponent lost life. So I think that's where I was going with it because you're probably going to have an opponent lose life. Yes, Gary. Gary has to be in an all-black deck. Gutter Bones might not work as well. I mean, it's a 1-drop, which is nice. We'll keep it there for now. Hangerback Walker, you're going to cast it, put a bunch of tokens in or counters on it, and then when you kill it, you get all those as 1/1 creatures that you can sacrifice later to feed your Braids. So that's why Hangerback's in there. Junji, so this was meant to die. When it dies, each opponent discards 2 cards and loses 2 life, or put target non-dragon creature from the graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. You lose 2 life. So recursion a little bit built in right there. And it isn't just from your graveyard, it's from anybody's graveyard. So this is pretty good in this, I would think. 5 for that. Or you're making people discard. Koshku, or Kushko, Kokusho. The Evening Star. Kokusho. There we go. So this one is, I love this card. I loved it from back in the day. It's probably not as good as it used to be, but still, that's some life gain. Let's say there's 3 players in play. You're going to gain 15 life when this leaves the battlefield. Liliana of the Veil. There's our other Liliana. We are going to make people sacrifice a creature. Everybody's going to sacrifice. I can draw. Each player draws a card. This isn't as powerful I'd like in this, but it still works in this deck. Liliana's Shades. This is one of the few. I know there's a new one, I believe. I believe it's in the Warhammer. I might have to. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Oh!
Oops. I'm in the wrong spot.
One.
There you go, Red
Can't even read.
There is, I think in the Warhammer, one of the decks has a similar card, which I have to check that out. Or maybe I did put it in here already. It might be in my ramp section. I'm not seeing it right away. But anyways, it enters the battlefield. You may search your library for a swamp card, reveal it, put it in your hand. So this is one of the few cards that's going to search for, get your land out of your deck, which is always nice with the black stuff. I already went through the Planeswalkers. Marionette Master. So this is going to be an interesting one. So this is where I started kind of going, do I go artifact wise? Do I go creature wise? Do I do Planeswalker wise? I think after going through all this, I think I'm going heavy creature wise, focusing on the creatures, but I'm going to have those side themes of Planeswalker and artifact and stuff. So, but the cool thing about this is I can cast it for 6. I can create 3 servo tokens so I can sacrifice them. I don't even have to make 3 of them. I can do 1 of them and sacrifice that. But the nice thing is whenever an artifact you control is put in the graveyard from the battlefield, target opponent loses life equal to Marionette Master's power. So I could just pump up Marionette Master, and if I had other artifacts to sacrifice those, target players losing 4 life. Is that enough? I like hitting everybody. Artifacts, we have 37 right there. So maybe that's enough. We'll see. Merciless Executioner. So this is one of those when they enter, everybody sacrifices a creature. When this enters, each player discards a card, including yourself. Mimic Vat we already talked about. Mind Slicer. Whenever it is put into the graveyard from play, each player discards his or her hand. So, the reason this is douchey, yes. But I could control this. If I am down cards in my hand, this is my only card, or maybe I don't care what's in my hand at this point, I'm fine with losing my hand because I'm going to sacrifice this. Everybody loses their hand, and if they want, they can sacrifice their creature as well. If they don't, I'm drawing and refilling my hand a lot faster than everybody else. Oh, Ibukaki, I thought all that was you were a bot, an advertiser. Lips, heart, wiener, love, you know, lips, wiener. Got it. Thanks, buddy. Mycosynth Wellspring. So I just think this will be interesting. Sorry, I'm going to go back to Mind Slicer. I think it'll be interesting later in the game. You definitely aren't doing it when you have 1 cards you want to use or too many cards in your hand. But if you're worried about the threat of what people have in their hands, you pop this on the battlefield, sacrifice it with Braids, and you kind of control it at that point. So I'm interested to see how this was. So it's another douche card, I think. It's my second douche card. Mycosynth Wellspring. So it enters the battlefield or put in the graveyard. This is where we're looking for land. So potential land. Does it go into your hand? Yes, it does. Well, it's a wiener. Eggplant equals wieners. Nether Trader. This is a fantastic card. I love this card in Eureka. Whenever another creature is put in the graveyard from the battlefield, you may pay 1. If you do, return it from the graveyard to the battlefield. See, and that's where I think Gutter Bones, I want to take it out because you're paying 1 to get it out, but you're paying 2, and then it goes to your hand, and there's so many. Yeah, Gutter Bones, we're getting rid of you. It's a purple-headed yogurt slinger. Yes. What movie is that from? Or is that from a show? I know that. Purple-headed yogurt slinger. The fuck is that from? All right. Nimblewright schematic. It's an artifact, but it also creates a servo. Is it a servo? Construct. So you're getting 2 for 1 here. So you can sacrifice the artifact, which is probably what I would do. Or the next turn you sacrifice the creature. So you're getting 2 things, sacrificing them and potentially drawing or doing damage to players or getting rid of their stuff. So there's a couple of those in here. Beginning your upkeep. If you have no snakes, create a 1/1 black snake creature token with death touch. So this is just going to keep creating snakes for you. You sacrifice them. Your next turn you get another snake, sacrifice it. So you're just going to continuously have your sack outlet. Pilgrim's Eye, play it, get your land, sack it, draw cards. Here it is. This is the other one. Okay, I did put it in here. So it's the same cost as the Liliana's Shade. But this is a 1/1 that you can pump up. This is a 3/3 flying. When it enters, go search for a basic swamp and put it in your hand, then shuffle. So we have 2 of these cards for black that allows you to go get stuff. Now I'm curious. A permanent that shares a card type. Okay, so if I sacrificed this, any player, the opponents can choose either a creature or an artifact they can sacrifice in these. So I don't like that as much, but I do like the card in here for that. Do you sack the 1? No, but it's just when I sacrifice and everybody makes a decision because that's just how every card is, you know. I wouldn't say it's a heuristic study by any means because that's just when people are playing to remind. I will be doing the action of Braids and asking, are people going to do this? And if they don't, then I draw, or if they do, then they sacrifice their stuff. Just like any other spell. Just a continuous spell. Whereas heuristic is based on what the player is doing. They play something and they're like, are you going to pay 1 for that? No. You know, it's based on what you're doing. So your focus is taken off of this. This is me doing the business and them reacting to what I am doing when I'm doing my business. Prize statue. So it's going to come in. We are going to get, what is it? Or put it in the graveyard. You get a treasure token. It's not crazy, but you're going to treasure token, 2 treasure tokens potentially off of it. And then you're sacrificing an artifact. Same thing. Skittering Surveyor. We're doing a similar thing to Pilgrim's Eye. This one's going into your hand as well. We already did Solemn Simulacrum. Thought Vessel was to help with the hand size. We can also sacrifice. Okay, so now let's get to some of the other bits that you really do need. Where's my ramp? Let's see what ramp stuff we have in here. Nope, untagged lands. Removal, recursion, ramp. Okay. A lot of these we've already touched on. So we got Black Market. We saw Black Market Connections, Bantus. Bubbling Muck. So I haven't played this card. I don't even own this card. But until end of turn, whenever a player taps a swamp for mana, it produces an additional... Okay, so I'm using this for myself for ramp. What is my basics? 12. What do I need for my ramp? Ramp. 13 to 17. 26. All right. Until end of turn, whenever a player taps a swamp for mana produces. We're going to do sideboard on that for now. Crypt Gas. So this is a potential life gain and a little. I'll give it a little side life gain there. Whenever you tap a swamp for land. So the reason why I like this one better is because the other one is just a one-time thing. This is continuous. I can each turn benefit from the swamps that I have in play. The other one is like one turn doing it, and I don't know if I like that as much. Dark Ritual, you know, it's Dark Ritual. This will be the first time I play it. To be honest with you, I've never played Dark Ritual in any commander deck. So if it stays in, that's a good one right there. Decanter of Endless Water. You have no maximum hand size. I like this card a lot. I feel like this should be played a little bit more, especially when you're drawing a lot of cards. because it's a mono rock that gives you the same ability as our other mono rock, which is actually going to be in here. Why am I scrolling down? Where'd you go? It's going to be like our Thought Vessel. 1 more mana. I'd rather have this than this because you're getting 1 color. In this deck, this is probably a little bit more strong. In anything 2+, this one's a bit... I would use that one over the other. I probably would use both of them, to be honest with you. Defiler of Flesh. So this is one of those Phyrexian horrors that we just got. As an addition to the cast. So it's going to mana reduction. You can pay 2 life instead of paying the black. For one of the blacks, you pay 2 life. Whenever you cast a black permanent spell, target creature control gets 1/1 and gains menace until end of turn. Is that powerful enough? We're not going to mess with it yet. Jet Medallion. That's definitely obviously going to be in here. Kirk, son of Yawgmoth. Not son of Post. Post, son of... I don't remember what it was. Post, son of something. For each mana, you can pay 2 life, so it's doing the Phyrexian in a way. Whenever you cast a black spell, I put a 1/1 counter on it. It also has lifelink. I will give myself a check for that one. So we are at 17 lifelink things. Liliana of the Dark Realms. Oh, this is getting our ramp for 4. I like this better than the other 4 drops because I could sacrifice this Liliana and no one's going to have planeswalkers to sacrifice. So this is a better one than this one and also has the other abilities. I can get rid of creatures if I want to. And then if I really hit that ultimate, I should be winning the game. Magus of the Coffer. So you can tap it. Get 1 mana for each swamp you control. Again, the 1-turn blast from the other one is the only reason why I didn't like that in there. Mana Vault. Because I was 1 color is why I popped this one in here. I don't know if I want to keep it in or not. 25 ramp. We're at 13 to 17. I like it being a 1-drop. I might... Or we'll keep it here for now. We already did Mari. We already did that. We didn't do Nirkana, but it's the same thing as Cryptghast. Whenever you tap a swamp, add an additional. And that's the same thing. Nyx Lotus. So now we're playing 1 color. This could be really brutal with being 1 color because you have the devotion to that color. So you could tap this for a lot of mana. Pilgrims, we already talked about that. Pitiless Plunderer. Whenever another creature you control dies, so we're getting treasure tokens. So this is actually should be in my also the sack benefits. I think it was this one. Yep, side theme there. Okay. All right. So we got everything else. We went through all of that. Let's check out. Let's start from the top. We did our Day of Dragons already. Pet cards. Oh, I threw in Koshkun Falls. So this is basically like propaganda. No creatures can attack you unless its controller pays an additional 2 for that creature. At the beginning of my upkeep, I have to tap target creature you control or bury this. So this is just nice in here because you're making it so people aren't actually attacking you. And it is also an enchantment, so you could sacrifice this too in a pinch. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, that player loses 5 life. That one's going. That one isn't helping me much. Protection. We are low. Very low on the protection. Here was my thought with it, though. The protection part, Braids isn't that expensive to come out. And also... the main thing is like if it gets killed, like it's not that threatening, you know, because I'm sacrificing my stuff and people can allow me to draw when it's not like an immediate threat. People don't necessarily go after those commanders by me drawing. That's not an immediate threat. It's the same thing like Rhystic Study. When somebody plays Rhystic Study out, you're like, fuck, that player's going to get ahead, but you don't like mentally go, I have to kill that player because they're going to be so far ahead. What's going to happen, I think, and this is just my prediction with Braids, is I'm going to have Braids. I'm going to sacrifice a creature. No one's going to sacrifice a creature because they don't want to lose it. They're going to lose 2 life, and I'm going to draw a card. And it's not going to seem like a threat until I have a massive hand and people don't know how to deal with it. And I have answers for everything. So right now, I only have the 3 main protection spells or equipments. It may change as I play play Braids a bit, and I realize, oh, actually Braids gets targeted quite a bit. I need to get rid of or add more protection stuff in there. Hard part is I like to be sneaky with my protection. It sounds really bad, but I like to have it as instant spells. I like to have it as reaction to somebody thinking that I like when people waste a spell on trying to get rid of my stuff. And so I don't like equipment necessarily sitting there because people are, I like it more when people think they're getting rid of it and then it's actually wasted their turn. But these are definitely very good cards to have in here, especially one color commander. Basically, Braids would have protection from everything that isn't black. Lightning Greaves, obviously, Swiftfoot Boots. All right, so I think what we have left is removal, recursion, and lands, but we're not going through lands. So let's do removal quick. I do have a damnation in here. That is my big mass removal. It's just my board wiping away. I might not even stay in here depending on how well the sack outlets do. Grim Hireling. This is nice. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage, you can create 2 treasure tokens, and you can tap 1, sacrifice X treasures, target creatures. So it can kind of remove players' creatures just with that. Chupacabra, you play this, destroy a creature, then you sacrifice this and get the benefit of the sacrifice stuff. We already talked about the lilies. You'll be able to get rid of stuff with those, both of these gals. And then Yawgmoth, we talked about Yawgmoth earlier. Recursion, there's quite a bit more recursion than I would normally play. Recursion could be considered almost like a recursion side theme. So what do we have? Recursion is normally 0 to 5. Side theme is 0 to 10. So you could almost combine these two. Because you are sacrificing things, it's nice to be able to bring things back that you have sacrificed. So recursion does become a big part of this. Egadeem's Awakening, return from your graveyard. So this is where my bonus lands are coming in. Because this is a flip card. There it looks like I see another one coming up here in a second. Proxy. Oh, I already saw that. Black Horizon. I totally missed I almost read it all again. Okay. So return from your graveyard to the battlefield any number of target creatures that each have different converted mana costs X or less. Okay. So different mana costs X or less. Each. Okay. Any number of target creatures that each have different converted mana costs X or less. So you can hit multiple things with this. And this is just from your graveyard. As long as they all have different mana costs. So let's use an example up here. We have a 3 here. We have a 4 there. Do we have a 2 anywhere up there? So if you tapped it and let's say you paid 3 and 4X, you could bring back something that costs 1, something that costs 2, something that costs 3, and something that costs 4. They each have different converted mana costs X or less. Each have different converted mana costs X or less. Yes. Yep. Okay, so you could bring back 4 cards off of that 7. That's pretty good. And the flip side is you can have it enter the battlefield. You may pay 3 life. If you do, it enters tap. If you don't, it enters tap. So the flip land, it being a potential flip land early in the game is very beneficial in this. So this is probably going to stay in there. Animate Dead, love playing this card. I've been playing this in a lot of my black decks lately because there's a lot of mill or people discarding and stuff. This, you can bring back a creature from anybody's graveyard. It just gets -1, -0. And again, in a pinch, you could sacrifice Animate Dead. It becomes an aura. I think the new errata text becomes an aura on that. Crucible Worlds, if we are sacrificing our land, if I get Crucible Worlds out, I'm going to sacrifice land. Who's going to want to sacrifice land? That is probably your number one. Well, Planeswalkers might be your number one to draw. But number 2 would be land, I would think. People are not going to want to sacrifice lands. If you have Crucible out, just bring your stuff back. So that would be when I would sacrifice the land. This is going to stay in there. Because if I play this, then when I get to my end step, I am sacrificing a land because I will draw off of that. Because most likely 2 out of 3, if not 3 out of 3 players are going to do that. Dance of the Dead, again, we can take a creature from any graveyard, put it on the battlefield. It gets a 1+1 counter. What's all its other little bits? Creature, just another tap on controller's untap phase. At the end of his or her upkeep, its controller may pay an additional 2 to untap it. So I don't even care about necessarily untapping it. It depends. Maybe it is a brutal card that comes in, and I do care about that. I can tap 2 to untap it. Otherwise, I can use that as another sacrifice, or this as well. Geth, Lord of the Vault, bring back stuff, artifacts or creatures. That's very nice. So this is going to be an all-star in this deck, being able to bring stuff back. Parks, what do you say? I just played a few historic Raw matches with Mono Black. I won every match. The trick is to play an underwhelming commander. Yep. And then pull all these in the 99. No one knows what to expect. Exactly. When the commander isn't as threatening, it's you don't need as much protection. Unless your deck does its thing lots and lots of times. Even when your commander doesn't look threatening, then people know that commander needs to be dealt with before all the stuff happens. So I'm hoping it's the first part, that it always just doesn't seem that threatening. The worst case scenario is she only costs 3 to come out, so she's not very expensive to bring back. Okay. Gissa, this one I think I really liked. I got to remember. If a creature your opponent controls would die, exile it. So you're exiling first off, there's stuff leaving. Beginning your upkeep, put all creature cards exiled with Gissa, Glorious, whatever, onto the battlefield under your control. They gain Decayed. So anything that you are killing, beginning of your upkeep, put all cards. Yeah. Everything that you killed with her, or that died and got exiled, you, at the beginning of your upkeep, gain it. It gains Decayed. When a creature is decayed, it can't block. When it attacks, sacrifice it. So you're just getting their creatures back. If they have ETBs, you get those. Or your creature, no, it's opponents. You get their creatures. If it has ETB, you get that. Otherwise, you sacrifice it at the beginning of your end step, and you get another benefit from that. Spanish Inquisition. Nice. Okay, so that's that. Goryo's Vengeance. So it's another recursion. Return target legendary creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. How many legendaries do we have? That won't tell me there, will it? I feel like I have enough of them. That why I put Goryo's in there. Because I could do this as my commander too. Let that die and then bring it back. Exile at the beginning. No, because you'd have to exile it at the beginning of your next end step. So you can sacrifice it because you can order those if you bring back, like, let's say this one. So we got 1, 2, 3. We'll count it after. This might be a sideboard. I'm doing that because it might not work as well as I'd like. Kaya's Ghost Form. Enchant creature or planeswalker control. If it dies, put into exile. Return it to the battlefield under your control. So you play this, sacrifice that creature, it comes back. It's just like the other stuff. We got that recursion going up there. Not recursion. Well, this is the recursion part. But we have the Undying. Oh, Machias. Similar thing there. We already talked about Liliana, right? Did we talk about this one? No, I don't think we did. Because the other Liliana was creating 2/2s, but you're drawing when your things die. But this has return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. That creature is a black zombie in addition to its other types. So you get your recursion, sacrifice it again, and then get the benefit of all that. Or I can sacrifice a Liliana in that case too. So I like this in here as well. Malakar Rebirth. Choose target creature. You lose 2 life until end of turn. That creature gains whenever this creature dies. Returns to the battlefield. So again, the sacrifice. And then the flip side is just a black mana. So there's our second one. Necromancy is, you can cast this as an instant. If you do, you bury it at the end of turn. But when you play it, choose target creature in a graveyard. So again, it's our similar thing to Animate Dead, to Dance of the Dead. We're recurring anybody's creature Leaves the battlefield, bury that creature. Okay, so it's a similar thing there. Phyrexian Reclamation. So we're paying 2 life, returning a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Dig that. Reanimate. Jadar makes a great commander. Easy to remove. Which one was that? I'm curious on which commander that is. Reanimate. So we're bringing, put target creature card from your graveyard on the battlefield under your control. Lose life equal to its mana value. We have 17 life gains, so that might be all right. Shallow Grave. This is an instant. This is a reserve list card. Put the top card or creature card from your graveyard on the play, although it's just summon. That creature is unaffected by summoning sickness. Move that creature from the game at the end of any turn. So get it out, sacrifice it, make everybody do their thing. Sheoldred, the other one, the Whispering one. Beginning of your upkeep, return target creature. So we got a recursion. Beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player sacrifices. So easy. It's a lot of mana, but it's always a good one when you have recursion stuff. Okay. Hour and 30 minutes in. Went through the whole deck here. Now we have to actually start cutting stuff. Okay, so after going through some things, I think I have enough stuff. There's one that creates a zombie as long as you don't already have one with the Kate. Oh, yeah. Yep, I know which one you're talking about. That could be. Well, let me check that one. Jadar. Oh. This gal. Or guy. I don't remember which one. Let's see. Beginning of your end step, if you control no creatures with Decayed, create a 2/2 black summon creature or token with Decayed. That's actually not a bad one. Beginning of your end step if you control. All right. What do you think here? Yeah, and you can stack this right. So you go Jadar. You go to the beginning of your end step. This is the trigger that's going to happen. And Braids is also going to happen, but we're going to stack Braids. Yes. So we're going to stack Braids underneath it. So Jadar is going to make our 2/2. And then we are going to sacrifice that 2/2 to feed it. I like it. 2 mana to get. And yep. And I'm a dude. And I just went 5 wins in a row against the best. Nice. This is a good ad. I'm going to add that one in. Let's change the tags. That is going to be one of my sacks. It's creating my sacks there, so I like it. Dig it. Yeah. No, this is a good card to have in this game, in this deck especially. Okay, so let's start going through some things. I don't even think I had Exsanguinate as one of my... So I have 18 life gains in here. All right, so where do we begin? I don't want to go too much longer. I'm going to probably cut out at about the 2-hour mark. So we're just got to start burning through some cuts. I can tell you right now, I am going to get rid of Lucille just because I know I don't want that one in there. Sacrifice 2 other creatures. Any number of players each lose 2 life, and sacrifice a creature you add and draw a card. I don't think I like that one either. There are things that when we were going through it, I was like, nope, don't want that in there. Don't want that in there. Let's just kind of work through some of this stuff. We'll start with draw. So draw, we want to get down to 18. I want to be on the higher end of the... Oh, I don't have to be on the higher end because Braids should be doing some... Cut Exsanguinate. I know, but this could be my game winner, Lowry. I don't play Exsanguinate. And I'm playing... Hopefully I'm getting a lot of mana. I don't know. Each opponent loses X life, gain life. I'm losing so much life. I think that's why I had this in here. There's so many cards where it's lose a life, lose a life, lose a life, and draw, lose a life. I was like, man, I need something where I can just use it to do a good amount of damage to gain my life, and then not worry about losing so much life off of stuff. Dark Confidant, I don't know if I want to keep that in. Don't be boring. It doesn't fit with the theme at all. It doesn't fit in the theme. I agree. But it fits in that I'm losing so much life. But if I keep all my 18 other life gain stuff, you might be right. I'll do this for you, Lowry. I'll do sideboard for that. But you would say the same thing for Torment of Hailfire. Don't start with that, Renshai. Don't cut top. Cut braids. You're no help when you're just saying random stuff. All right. So Dark Confidant. What did I get? Where's my mana cost stuff? So we have 32, 29. There's a lot that I could really lose a lot of life from. So let's get Dark Confidant out of there. Well, get him to sideboard right now too. So down to 21. All right, let me go through these. Blood Gift Demon. That's draw. Yeah, that works. That's draw. That's fun. That's fun. Whenever a permanent owned by another player is put in the graveyard from the battlefield, you draw a card and lose a life. Oh, that's a good point. Yes, you're right. I thought you were going to target it next, Lowry. I feel like this is just too much. So we are getting rid of that. Liliana, I like it in there. Draw a card, lose a life. I like that it's creating the tokens there. Yes, yes. One more. I like this on other people's turns. Phyrexian Arena enchantment. That's something I can sacrifice. Boom. Sensei's Tavesh. Creating the tokens. I like that. 3, draw cards. Hey, Lowry, since you're on here really quick, I just want to make sure I don't know if you were on earlier. I think I thought of this one right. So Treacherous Blessing is whenever it becomes a target of a spell or ability, sacrifice it. Braids doesn't say target. So in my thought of this, it says at the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice an artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker. So this is actually never being targeted, because what I was worried about was that if it was targeting it, I would target it and then it would sacrifice itself, and then I wouldn't get to use this ability of targeting it and because it's being sacrificed before the actual spell goes through or the ability goes through. So I'm pretty sure, because this isn't actually targeting this, that I'm able to do that. So correct me if I'm wrong on that. That was one thing I worked out, but I think I had it thought right. Vampiric Rite, sacrifice a creature, you gain 1 life and draw a card. That might be something I get rid of. Yawgmoth, Professor. So whenever you cast or copy. So what do we figure out? Instants and sorceries. We're only at 9. So her just static ability is not going to work. Each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures that player controls. So for 6. Okay, thanks, Lau. Each opponent may discard a card. If they don't, lose 3 life. Repeat this. That ultimate is ridiculous. Which card? I was talking about Treacherous Blessing. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be targeted by Braids, and I would be able to sacrifice it. So we wanted 18 to draw. I'm leaning towards Professor Onyx for a 6-drop. Looking at 3 cards and putting one in my hand. Is that even worth it? Each opponent sacrifice a creature with the greatest power among creatures that control. So it's adding to the sacrifice. But I do have that Planeswalker part of it. Is there anything else weaker in this? Land spells. On top of your library, may cast a spell this way. Okay, so that's... Onyx feels like the one to get rid of. But remember I was saying that the side theme of the Planeswalkers. But it just doesn't seem as strong because I'm not going to be casting very many instants or sorceries. So I'm losing that static ability. Maybe if Onyx was a little bit cheaper instead of being 6, this would seem doable. But I think I have to remove Onyx out of there. All right, we're down to 19 with that. Let's kind of move down a little bit more. Sacrificing stuff. Okay, I liked the idea of if somebody has token stuff, this really gets them down to just 2 creatures. Archon of Cruelty. These are fun. Grave Pact. Sacrifice a card in play. Draw a card. That can really come in a pinch, or sacrificing that. I keep going back to Vampiric Rites because I like free sack outlets, and I think I have enough in there, so we're going to get rid of that. That got our draw into the 18. Yeah, Braids doesn't target. Thanks, Renshai, as well. And thanks, yeah, Professor was just needed to go. This is why that was the whatchamacallit, the one I just cut, gave you a life, Empiric Rights or whatever. This is sacrifice any card in play to draw, and it's 2 colorless. Not that colors doesn't matter as much. We'll keep them there for now. Might end up getting cut. All right, ramp. What do we need to get ramp to? 17. All right, where's our irrelevant dudes? Black market's going to be good. Yeah, that's going to really help in this. Black market. Bantu is going to help. Cryptghast, yep. Dark Ritual. I got hung up on the Defiler. I know. So for 4, as an addition to cast a black spell, you may pay 2. Those spells cost 1 less for each. If you paid the life this way, blah, blah, blah. Whenever you cast a black permanent spell. The part that I don't like is the benefit to the bottom part. But being able to pay 2 life to play things easier, I do like that. It's our Kirk. But this is better, in my opinion, than that one. And gain my life back. Liliana's Shade. 4 for getting a mana. We're getting that there. The Shade just might be too much. Mana Vault we're getting rid of. Shade might be a little too much. I'd rather have the Planeswalker in there. Arcana's good. Pilgrim's Eye for 3 to do that. For 3 to do that. I don't think I like this one as much because the getting a treasure. So 2, I get a treasure that I can only use once. And then it dies and I get a second treasure. But then I get the benefit. I don't think that's strong enough. Remove. Enters the battlefield. You may search library, basic land. Swamp. Reveal it. Put it into your hand. Just trying to see some of our other ramp stuff. We don't have, as you can see, I don't even have Soul Ring. How did I not get Soul Ring in here? I have to have Soul Ring. Why didn't I put Soul Ring in here? I mean, you gotta have that in there. See, that's the thing, is you miss some of those add to every deck cards. Flying 3/3. That is a bit bigger than the one I cut. We need some. Nyx Lotus is going to be good. Thought Vessel should be drawing enough. Dark Ritual help. All right, for now we did some cuts there. Let's move down a little bit. Recursion. So we have some land stuff built in on those guys. I'm going to get rid of Reanimate from a graveyard on the battlefield control. That actually might not be bad for a 1-drop. It's anybody's. I do like these guys on things, because then I sacrifice them and bring them back. Yeah, I like that in there. I like her in there. I don't know if this one's strong enough for a 5. No Signet, no Ring, no Rock. Yeah. I got to keep it in there. Soul Ring, I think there's only one deck that I didn't have it in. And I don't think this is one of the decks to not have it in. It's black. I do need to have a little bit of that in there. Just trying to decide if that's good enough to have in here. Those are my easy cuts at this point, so I shouldn't focus on those. I'm kind of against now the I guess here was my thought with Damnation was depending on the game, you know, it's always good to have a board wipe. But what I was thinking was if it was late in the game and I had the Damnation or whatever, and my commander was already dead, if I was able to wipe the board, play my commander and another creature, a cheap creature, like let's say I brought back Nether Shade or whatever, then I could sacrifice that. No one has creatures, so there's no option but for me to get stuff. So that was kind of where I was thinking with that one. I think I'll keep it there for now. But let me I do have some other thoughts. Now I'm thinking out loud of stuff when we were going through it. So I think I'm going to get rid of these guys. This was something that really needed to get attacked here because we got sacks. We got our main theme. It's supposed to be 15 to 25, and the sacks is just what I'm using for that. So this isn't part of, it's kind of part of the main theme. So I think I'm going to get rid of a bunch of these. You think no cut Damnation or 2 cut Damnation? Okay, Burglar Rats. Let's go through some of these. That one's good to bring back. I like this being an artifact and drawing. This can help get rid of people's creatures. So that was one of the things I was thinking about there. May cast it. Oh, okay. The logic of what I was saying there. Yeah. Elvish. Each player discards. Let's get rid of that. Grave Titan's making more. Hangerback. Helm. Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's my only wiping away because I do have Butcher. What is it? The Butcher. Where is he? You know what I'm talking about. Doing -X. -X. Recursion, removal. It should actually go up there. It should be right in here. There. The meat hook map. I call it the Butcher because it's the... I'll also add that as removal. I did the Butcher from Diablo 2 as one of the proxies, so I think of it as the Butcher, and there's a Butcher right there. So I was already on. No, I wasn't on this. There we go. Sacks. So Junji 5, is that benefit good enough? It's a 5/5 flying menace. Put into the graveyard. You lose 2 life. I don't know if I like that as much as I was thinking I would. So I think I'm going to get rid of Junji. Yeah, maybe that's a good point. I am getting rid of enough stuff, and Meat Hook is my way to wipe everything. I can go with that logic. Okay, back to this. Liliana, I don't know if I like this one as much, but I was doing that. Butcher, Dictate, Grave Pack, Massacre. You don't need... Yep, okay. I got 2 people that agreed with that. Yep, I'll do that. Cut it out. Liliana, I just don't think I like as much in this. Because it's making people discard. I'm targeting 1 player to sacrifice a creature. So Liliana's got to go. Down to 6 Planeswalkers. I think I could have gone a little more on the heavy Planeswalker side if Braids was not just black. Like, then I could have really made this like a Super Friend sacrifice deck. But you're just limited on what they're actually doing. Making creatures helps because then they give me sack fodder. Same with Liliana does that. This Liliana does it. So I like these Lilianas in there. Let's get rid of the mummy. Remove him. Oh, there's give you something else. Yeah, that's a good point. Yep. So there's and with me doing the other, like Lowry mentioned, with Grave Pack, Dictate, those should be board wipes in a way. I want to get rid of the Executioner, maybe. I'm keeping these for right now because it's having people sacrifice more than they want. isn't the best when you're trying to build up. Yeah. Marionette Master, I don't think I want that necessarily in here. I mean, I do have a lot of artifacts right now, but also this is just if it was each player loses that much life, then yeah, then I'd go for it. But Marionette Master for 6, I don't think it's strong enough to have in here. Nether Trader, I like that. Like the snake one, that's our generating tokens. And that was getting mana. 4 squares equals 4 wipes. 4 squares equals 4 wipes. You're talking about toilet paper. I gotcha. Reassembling skeleton. Paying 2 to bring it from your graveyard to the battlefield is better than having it go to your hand and having to pay again. So that's why I like that better than what did I get rid of? Where did he go? I got rid of him completely. But yeah. So I like that there. Rotting Rats comes into play. Each player discards a card. Unearth. Return this card from your graveyard to play. Gains haste. Remove it from the game at the end of your turn, or if it would leave play. Yeah. So you get to play it again. Each player discards. Now let's get away from the discarding hands. I already have a deck that does that, so I'm fine with not having that there. Servo that creates an artifact and an artifact creature. I like that. Each opponent discards a card. So again, we're dealing with the discarding. I do like that it's each opponent is discarding, so it's not hitting me as well. So this one I maybe could keep there. Or we got to get rid of some stuff. So let's get rid of that. I feel like I missed some of this because I don't remember talking about that one. And I don't remember talking about the Lich, because the Lich is really good in this. When it dies, choose 1 or more modes. Each mode target a different player. Target player sacrifices, target player discards 2, or target opponent loses 5 life. That's really good because you're hitting each one for a different reason, you know. So I like this in this as well. Chupacabra at least allows me to destroy something. Enters, destroy target creature. Okay. 166. We got 66 more cuts. 66 more cuts. All right. Let's move back. We didn't touch this area yet. Oop, messing with my light. Stop it. There we go. All right. We haven't touched this one since went through it. So let's see. Dark Prophecy. It's fine. It's drawing. Creature you control is put in the graveyard. So this is also doing my damage. Then to maybe focus on the discard effects to help cut big chunks. Which is your discard. Yep, exactly. Did my other Liliana do that? Which Liliana? Liliana the Veil. I think I got rid of her, right? Isn't that what I just got rid of? Yeah. I got to remember that the timing is a little off with you guys too, because you might mention something that I already did. But I believe I got rid of... There's my Liliana there. I don't see any other lilies besides Dreadhorde. We need her. Yeah, I got rid of Liliana the Veil. Yep. Okay. Oh, this one I didn't talk about either, did I? So I discards a card each one who can't lose his 3 life. Oh, this was the removal part. Target creature where X is the number of cards in your graveyard. So it has a little bit of removal built in on it. Dark Realms. It helps you make your lands and clears your deck up from misses later. Dark Realms. Now I'm curious what your Dark Realm. Am I spelling it wrong? Oh, Rise of the Dark Realms? Is that what you're talking about? Oh. You must... I'm guessing you're talking about Liliana or Rise of the Dark Realm? Liliana. Oh, I like Liliana the Dark Realms right here. Yeah. I like Liliana in there. I think she's a good add because it has the removal and it has the adding for land. So yeah, no, I definitely agree with you, Parks. I like that card. That's why she's still there. But Liliana, Waker of the Dead. Each player discards a card. Each opponent who can't loses 3 life. Target creature gets -X. Yeah. Beginning of combat, you return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield under control. It gains haste. So the recursion's nice. But her +1 is going to be interesting, I guess. Well, that's not where I was. I'm keeping her for right now. I was in the sacks, wasn't I? Yeah, I think so. Because I was going through all these guys. Oh, I think I got through pretty much all of those. Oh, God. How am I going to cut 6? Oh, no, I was getting to the sack benefit. That's where I was. Okay, so we got this. Whenever this or another black creature enters the battlefield, it's to lose life, gain a life. Worst case, Liliana of the Dark Realms is a 4, seems like a removal spell. Cauldron, it's pretty spendy unless you're sacking a bunch of creatures. That is also true, Lau. If I get rid of... Well, Machias just kicks into it. Yeah. I'll go do a sideboard on that one. I was liking that one a little more. Okay, so black creature enters the battlefield. Each opponent loses 1 life. You gain a life. This is focused on the black creatures, but everything I will have is black besides the artifacts. I think I'm going to get rid of Erebros. Oh.
Can't even
Erebros.
read.
Whenever another creature you control dies, you may pay 2 life. If you do, draw a card. I guess that is... I do like that in there. This is why I can't cut cards. Draw a card. I don't lose life with that. I like It That Betrays. Mimic is going to be fine. Massacre is fine. Creating the tokens is fine. This one might get it. Another creature dies. Oh, it's whenever another creature. So me sacrificing is going to make Senger pretty big. The gaining life part is only going to happen. You know, people have to be weary of that. Smothering Abomination. I'm going to draw off of that. Jeez, what do I get rid of here? 2-drop scrying off a sacrifice. We just have so much shit. I mean, good shit. I don't want this one there. That one's too much to deal with because it's 4. It's not coming back for free. So getting rid of that. This isn't my ramp. Grave Titan's going to be my creatures. See, I'm kind of going all over the place right now. I'm just trying to cut things I see to work with Erebros. Yeah. I think I'm gaining enough life that these cards where I'm losing life and whatever will be fine. Mimic Vat seems like it's going to be fine. I think this is just too situational. That one just getting big. Sideboard there. Whenever this or another non-token creature you control dies, create a blood token. So that's one that I could sacrifice, but I just feel like this one, where is it? Where's the blood token gal? The other one. There. Whenever a creature or opponent control dies, you gain a life and create a blood token. And this has lifelink. So you're gaining a life and getting a blood token. This is off of, that's off of opponents. This is off of you. Yeah. And then you transform her into... You can turn your blood tokens into bats, which is kind of garbage. I actually probably wouldn't flip. Does it say... Oh, you do have to transform. Not that you're going to have it necessarily. But you do have to flip if you have the 5 blood tokens. Normally I'm just like, I can burn through these cuts and I have 63 to cut. It's just, oh, let's see here. What do we got? Protection, removal, Day of Dragons. We got that in there. Side theme, recursion, pet cards, and land. I just want to kind of go through everything again. See if there's any that stand out. I'm just doing the standout cuts. I feel like this is too much mana. I do not own this card, so do I want to spend $19 to get it where I use here? I mean, I can do the sideboard for that one. I just don't know if I'm going to hit that one as much as I'd like to. Strionic, whenever your copy target triggered ability. So just want to make sure it's all at the beginning of your end step. Just making sure that triggers right. When, whenever, or okay, at. There we go, triggered. Yep. To cut the entire sub theme. Oh, what was my sub theme? You're saying the sub theme was more of the sack stuff. So these would need to stay. I'm fine with getting rid of this because I should be drawing off of my sacks. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with these. I'm fine with being a dick with that one. That's a sub theme. It's by itself just a sub theme. Yahenni is fine for getting big, but really can be chump blocked. The nice thing of him being indestructible is pretty nice. But I do end up cutting Yahenni. Beginning of each choose up to 2 target creatures you control. We'll do sideboard on that guy. All right, so we got this down. Double triggers of doing it. So I'd have to sacrifice 2 to do it, but then everybody else would have to do the same. I think I'm good there. Draw, we're at our 18. I think I'm good with what we have for our draw. These 2 for Day of Dragons. Recursion, we can maybe... That would probably be more of my side theme in this one. The Awakening, it almost seems like that's going to be too much. We'll get sideboard on that. I like the ones where I can get other people's graveyards. This almost seems like it might be too situational. I like that it's an instant. Let's get these guys to sideboard for right now too. Whoop. Sideboard. Couldn't you cut draw because you're going to be drawing almost 3 every turn based on your... You will potentially drawing 3 every turn. I don't, you know... You're probably right, though, that my commander is built on drawing, but that doesn't mean if the commander's out and commander's killed or something like that, killed too many times, I want to have enough draw engines in here. And all these kind of, like, look at each one of these. They work not even just with the command, like they work with the commander and by themselves. So you have your 3, your normal, like, lose a life, draw a card. Lose a life, draw a card. Wasn't there one more? Oh, I didn't have the land one that goes on there. But Black Market just almost needs to be in every deck. Bolas the Citadel is a good way to get your lands from the top of your library out, plus play things for life, for free, basically. This is perfect for sacrificing 4 Braids. Same with Demonic Pact. Same with Liliana's contract. The Planeswalkers give me creatures to sacrifice. These 3 here. This is also a draw and sacrifice with our Braids. She's going to allow me to potentially draw and get treasure, but it's removing any of their creatures that go to the graveyard. Dies. It goes to the graveyard. It, gets a hit counter and gets exiled. Midnight Reapers for... Mine dying, I'm getting a benefit, so it's kind of the draw built in with it. Same with that guy. So each one of these has... I don't see one standing out. Maybe Yawgmoth? Pay 1 life, sacrifice another creature. But it's drawing by sacrificing. Skittering Surveyor. Yeah, If I do Skittering, then I probably get rid of Pilgrims then too. Because they're both doing similar things. I would probably do Plasma or Plasma Answer. That's actually probably one I should get rid of. Let's get rid of that guy. Skittering, yeah, it is a 3-drop ground creature. This is a flyer. Shallow Grave. Let me see. That's where I was trying to get at. Well, the other thing I was trying to figure out was legendaries because, or did I cut that already? I must have cut them already. The one that was based, Goryo's Revenge, Goryo's Vengeance. Top creature card from your graveyard is over summoned. Yeah, this is only my creatures. No, oh, Larry, I don't know if you were there for Crucible of Worlds. Crucible of Worlds, if I play this, then I sacrifice land. Because then I can bring my land back, whereas the other players, and I'm most likely, it's almost like I think Planeswalkers are a guarantee I'm going to draw 3 cards and everybody's going to lose 2 life. Lands, I feel like, would be number 2, unless it's really late game, of if I sacrifice them, I'm going to draw 3 cards and they're going to lose 2 life. So that's what I said with Crucibles. The only time I would probably sacrifice lands is if I have Crucible of Worlds. Because I play Crucible of Worlds, sacrifice my land, draw my 3 cards. Like, almost a given. That's the interesting thing about Braids is, like, it isn't necessarily going to be a given that you draw 3 cards every time. Because people are willing to sacrifice, you know, one player might have an abundance of creatures or an abundance of enchantments, or they have treasure tokens and they're like, well, you sacrifice an artifact, I'll get rid of that. So you might have 2 players that have that. I think lands and planeswalkers are going to be almost like guarantees of being able to draw those 3 cards. But what I do have to kind of stay in theme with is that I feel like we've now shifted to the creature side, and getting the benefits from that. So, you know, players losing life for creatures going to the graveyard. So I think that I have to kind of keep in mind now at this point because we are sacrificing. Okay, so this is an ETB of black creatures, so she might not be as good. As of land in hand. I wouldn't worry about playing lands from the yard. Yeah, I guess you're right, because of drawing. I can see what you're saying there. I just keep going after. Lots of artifacts because there are so many artifact tokens out there. Yeah. Treasures have made it very easy for people to have things to sacrifice. I'm going to do sideboard for Crucible there, Lau. I get what you're saying, that if I'm drawing enough, I should be able to just play a land if I sacrifice it. So that's a good point. So down to 52. Where was I? Let's see. Reanimate was fine. These are fine. Those are fine. Fine. I like the recursion I have going. That's to the hand. Shieldred. It's just so much mana. Like, she's good. But damn, like, the air sacrifice. Nah, that one's going to my sideboard on that. She's just so much mana. I know the recursion's nice, free, and all that stuff, but 7 mana, it seems like a lot for what I'm trying to do there. But it is each turn I'm getting one back. That's why it's going to be here. She might come back in the mix. Get down to 50. Oh, and I'm over the 2-hour mark. All right, let's do one more cut here, and then I got to do the drawing for Stump the Smith Savant. Obviously, I'm having a part 2 of this. This, again, if I had been doing this a month ago, I had it fresh in my brain of what I wanted to do. This was almost a refresher for myself as well. And kind of gave you some of the ideas of where this deck can go, I guess, what different things you could do. Let's get rid of the Surveyor, just because that was one that Lowry suggested. All right, so now we got down to the 150 mark, so I have 50 more to cut. I will definitely be doing a part 2 probably in the next week or so. 38. It's 38. I think I do have 38 here. That's a good point. So we're at 148. Yeah, we'll be down to 36 land. I don't know what I'll necessarily get rid of. Let's just get our basics down. Remove one. All right, so we got down to 148. I should have saved it for next week so I can have 2 cuts right away. But yeah, so that should do it. Thank you guys for joining. Thanks for the suggestions and everything. Larry, thanks for jumping on as well. Everybody, thank you for that. It really helped I like having the suggestions. It helps me cut things a lot easier. Also adds things like this little guy that I didn't even think to add in there. I think is going to be a perfect ad for this deck. All right, so this week, Stump the Smith Savant, we are having 2 cards as the giveaway now. The ante is up to 2 cards. I'm trying to get to the bottom of this. Sometimes the newer entries get stuck on the top, and I end up picking all the new guys. All right, so what is our... Ooh. And I'm pretty sure... I got to check this before... Let me check one thing here. Because sometimes I haven't pulled people's names, but I want to make sure that this one is up to date. Because I was gone. And it's taking a second to load here. But I have Cole here. Nothing against you, Cole. I'm just trying to make sure that I have your recent entry if you did do a new one. You did. Okay, so that's what I was saying. He's one of the more recent ones, and he gets pulled. That's what I was trying to mix to get to the bottom, and I did. But Cole is the stumper for this week. Good luck with that one, Larry. I think that one's going to be a tough one. I just looked at it. Thanks again, guys, for watching. Part 2 will probably be next week sometime, potentially. Got Halloween coming up next weekend and everything, but we'll try to get in part 2 to get this sucker done. So, all right, guys, have a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. We'll see you. Bye. Suck up.